This video is to explain how to write imperfect cadences. Sorry about the background noise, it's just the server that's in my room. So we have imperfect cadences are a half close, so it means it's not at the end of the piece, that it's usually put in the middle at the end of a phrase. So we have 1 to 5, 2 to 5, 4 to 5, or 6 to 5, and they're all a type of imperfect cadence. So the one we're going to look at first is 1 to 5. So this is basically just the opposite of a perfect cadence, so you can follow those steps, just do it back to front, from the 5 here to the 1 there, or you can just follow these steps, which are pretty much the same. Root notes in the bass, tonic to lead note rather than lead note to tonic, common notes and remaining notes. So we're going to do that one. We've got one in G here. So we put our bass notes in here, G and a D. And now we want our leading note to tonic, or our tonic to leading note. So we need to have an F to a G. So I'm going to put that in my alto part. Sorry, I read it back to front, so I go F to G. If you're reading it the other way, tonic to leading note, we're going G to F. And then our other parts that we need to put in are our common notes. So the common note that we have is a D. So we'll pop a D in the soprano part, I think. I don't know why it doesn't line up properly, but pretend it does. And we'll have a B going to an A because there are remaining notes. And even though it looks super weird, let's have a little listen. So you can hear that it doesn't really sound like it's finished because it's not meant to. It's not meant to go at the end of the piece. So that's our first type. Our second type is 4 to 5. So let's have a look at what our sheet says about that. In 4 to 5, we want the root notes in, oh sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. We want our root notes in the bass, and then our remaining notes just need to move in contrary motion to the bass. So that means the opposite direction. So we've got our root notes in, we've got C and D, and then so we need to work out what combination of notes will move down rather than up. So I'm going to put a C here to an A, and I'm going to put a G to an F, and then I'm going to go an E to a D. So that should be all the notes we can check. So we've got C, C, G, E, that covers it off, and then D, F, A, and a D. So I've tried to pick ones that are close to each other, mostly by step, not quite, so that we're not having massive jumps here and there. So try and sort of figure out which pairs go well together, and we'll have a listen. Alright, so that was our 4 to 5. And then we have 2 to 5. So there's a couple of different ways you can think about harmonizing this. So let's have a look at our 2 to 5. So you can, the way that I harmonize it is thinking about as if this was a perfect cadence in another key. So I still use root notes and bass, leading notes to tonic, common notes, and then the remaining notes, because I just find that easy to understand and easy to remember. So we do want to try to aim for all of the rest of our parts except for all the parts going in contrary motion to the bass part. So we've got our bass part going down here, and every other part is just taking, or there's a common note, and then every other part is going up there. So if we were doing this in this key here in G, obviously it's an A chord to a D chord, and that's 2 to 5, but this is the same as if we were doing a perfect cadence in the key of D, because if we go D, E, F, G, A is the 5th of D. So it's kind of like 1 to 5 in 5 to 1 in D, or we can have 2 to 5 in G. So that's the way that I think about it. You don't necessarily have to think about it that way, whatever works for you. So I've got my root notes. So I'm going to show you sort of the perfect cadence way, the way to think about it that way. So I've got my root notes in the bass. We've got an A, we've got a D. So we need our leading note to our tonic. So usually this would be 5 to 1. So it's whatever would come before this D. So we need a C to a D. So I think I'm going to pop that in my soprano part. I'm going to put a C to a D. Then we need our common note. So our common note is our A here. So we're going to put an A in my tenor part. And then the remaining notes is an E to an F. So I'm going to pop them in my alto part. And we'll have a listen. Okay, so there you go. That's the sort of easy steps for me to remember. Obviously it doesn't sound like a perfect cadence because it's not quite, it doesn't have the same function, but it has the same sort of letters and the same way that you can figure it out. And so we have, at the moment you can see that I've got all my notes kind of going the same direction, which isn't ideal. So what you could do to avoid that, if it fits into our ranges, we'll have to check. So bass can sing all the way up to a middle C, which is quite high. So we could just have our tenor and our bass part singing the same note. So both of them singing that, so then we've got it going down and all our other parts going up. Or if you're in a different key, you could probably pop it like down or up an octave, however is going to make the other parts go in contrary motion to the bass. And then we have our trickiest one, which is 6 to 5. And the tricky thing about 6 to 5 is you have to do something different. You have to double the third, not the root. So we're used to writing in like G, B, D, and then adding another root note, G. So instead of going A, C, E, A, we're having A, C, E, C, or whatever key you're going to be in. So that third of your chord needs to be doubled, otherwise it doesn't work. So we need to put our root notes in the bass. Then we need to put in the thirds. So let's do that all together. So we've got our root notes E and D, and then the thirds means like these two G's here. The G's, that is the third of chord 6 and the third again of chord 6. So we're just going to pop them in. Usually we sort of do both parts at the same time, but we're actually going to do mainly the first chord first. So I will pop a G here in the tenor part, and I'll pop a G in the alto part. So for my thirds in, our next step is to move in by step, which means just not a leap is like more than one step up to the space. It could be like this is a leap. They must move by step in contrary motion to each other. So if this G goes up to something, this G has to go down to something. So you've got to sort of figure out what it's going to go to. So we've got an F in here, which is quite close to a G. So let's pop an F here. So that means this is going to have to go up. So what could this G go up to? It could go up to an A. And then we just have our remaining soprano voice to put in, which we'll just check our steps, which is just the remaining notes, and they need to move in contrary motion to the bass. So we should have a B, and then let's try that again. A B, and then a D. So we've got our bass and the remaining notes moving in contrary motion, and then we have our thirds ones, well, they're moving in contrary motion with each other. You can also look at it that two parts go up, two parts go down, but that's the way my brain sort of works on this, and we'll have a little listen. So that's another type of half close. These are all imperfect cadences.